Most painful and destructive of all, Biden is likely to use racial wounds in order to make his point. There is no behavior worse than this. All race politics is bad, no matter what flavor those politics happen to be. No race politics is better than any other. All of it is poison. Race politics subsumes the individual into the group. It erases people. It dehumanizes them. Race politics elevates appearance over initiative and decency and all the other God-given qualities that makes every person of every color unique, yet morally equal to every other person.
Believe it or not, that was a prominent race baiter and peddler of the white replacement theory, Tucker Carlson on Fox News, essentially warning President Joe Biden to avoid mentioning the issue of race when addressing a racially motivated mass shooting that took place in Buffalo, New York. Now, that was a shooting involving an 18-year-old who was inspired by conspiracy theorists who believe that white people are being replaced by people of color in America and that something needs to be done about it, something violent needs to be done about it. And Tucker Carlson didn't like the fact that people were calling out his own rhetoric on his show where he peddles the same conspiracy theory that inspired the shooter. And maybe he was a little concerned that maybe Joe Biden would grow a pair for once in his life and call out the actual bad actors in this case. But he probably doesn't know Joe Biden well enough. We do, and his response was exactly what you would expect. Let's watch.
Do you believe that certain members of Congress, the Republican Party, as well as Tucker Carlson, who have echoed the replacement theory, deserve some blame for violent deaths?
I believe anybody who echoes the replacement theory is to blame, not for this particular crime, but it's for no purpose except profit and or political benefit. And it's wrong. It's just simply wrong.
So Cenk, I don't know, am I being a little too harsh with Joe Biden? Because he does place some blame on Tucker Carlson for profiting off of peddling this toxic conspiracy theory, which motivates violent people to carry out racially motivated mass shootings. But he doesn't want to blame Tucker Carlson at all for the shooting that just happened that was inspired by the same theories that Tucker Carlson spews on his show regularly.
Honestly, you got a lot more out of it than I did. I thought that was jibber jabber.
Really?
Yeah, I could barely understand what he was saying. He's like, I don't blame him or the crime or something for replacement theory, but I blame somebody for coming up with a profit. Speak clearly, man. Look, the one thing you got to give Trump is he speaks clearly. Now, he might speak like a moron and he might say things like wind causes cancer, wing, wing, right? But when he says something, he says it 2-3 times. And it's by the end, whether right or wrong, you're super clear on what he means by it, right? He's like, I'm the one who created the record economy, right? And you know what he's saying. With Biden, he's like, yeah, profit, what?
Okay, so let me read you a transcript of what he said. I believe anybody who echoes replacement theory is to blame, not for this particular crime.
Yes, for that particular crime, yes.
But it's for no purpose except profit and or political benefit, and it's wrong. So he's arguing, no, I mean, I don't blame them for inspiring this crime, but they do spew the same ideology on their programming, which is done for profit.
You had to read it a second time, and with you reading it instead of him mumbling it, for people to even understand.
Listen, I mean, we don't disagree. The Democratic leadership, and that includes the President of the United States, are terrible communicators, terrible legislators, and have failed the American people and their voters over and over again. There's no disagreement on that.
100%. So that then comes back to the original question of, okay, was Tucker right? So Tucker says, now, this crime, don't worry about race in regards to the crime. He says racial politics is the worst thing you've ever seen.
Except racial politics is all he talks about on his show.
And by the way, I'm gonna get to that, but the crime was about racial politics. So then he says, anyone talking about the crime in the lens of racial politics, I wrote it down, no behavior is worse than this. How about killing 10 people? That seems worse, doesn't it?
I would say that's worse.
Yeah, I mean, so he's like, don't worry about the crime. Don't worry about the 10 dead people. Don't worry about that he wrote a giant manifesto saying, I like to kill black people. That is not the problem. The biggest problem, he says, is people criticizing that ideology. Really? That's the biggest problem?
The biggest problem is making this about race when this was about race.
You know who made it about race, you moron? And I know he's not stupid, to be fair. He thinks his audience is stupid and that he's gonna be easily able to trick them. The guy who made it about race is the guy who shot 10 black people while writing a manifesto saying, I hate black people, I really like white people. Here's 180 pages of me saying that. And for Tucker to say, I can't believe the Democrats made it racial. Oh, shut up. By the way, do Democrats make some things racial? Yes, we've talked about it on the show. Yep. But you could not find a worse example. Not on this.
You know what
Democrats literally can't talk about this story without talking about race. But he says, no, the people talking about this story accurately are the real problem. Okay, no, you're the real problem, Tucker, because you're the one who makes every story racial, to Anna's point. Now you want to talk about, they're telling everybody what I do on a nightly basis. It's so unfair. Just because I said native-born Americans are better, that diversity is bad, that immigrants are dirty. These are all things he said. That on Fox News constantly, with people like Newt Gingrich coming out talking about classic Americans are better and immigrants from non-European countries are bad. Tucker Carlson said the worst thing that ever happened in this country was the repeal of a 1965 law that said that we could only take immigrants from Europe. He said that was the worst thing that ever happened in this country. We didn't make it racial, Tucker. You did, over and over and over and over again. And the minute that anyone actually defends black people, minorities, immigrants in this country, you go, oh, I can't believe you made it racial.
You know, the whole point is to intimidate people who want to tell the truth about what's going on in this country, to prevent them from speaking the truth, to essentially clear the way for one narrative to be shared over and over again. And that's the narrative that you get from, honestly, either white supremacists or white supremacist enablers like Tucker Carlson, right? Because, I mean, it's inconvenient for Tucker Carlson. It's so inconvenient that a mass shooter was inspired by the garbage he spews on his show on a regular basis. This is inconvenient. So please don't address that. It makes him very uncomfortable. He needs a safe space so he can continue spewing the same toxic, dangerous rhetoric night after night with no problem.